if anyone would like those that are here in person. And of course, the full packet is available on our website. Throughout the course of the meeting, first we'll have our consent agenda, followed by general public comment. We welcome general public comment for addressing issues that are not on today's agenda, but otherwise related to county business. So those two items that are on our main agenda are the climate adaptation and mitigation plan and the findings of fact. So if you have comments related to those, then we can wait for the actual item to come up. Given our limited time and need to have an orderly and efficient meeting, we'll apply certain rules regarding public comment. A recent Kansas federal court decision has provided additional clarity regarding standards for public comment. We've updated our policy accordingly. We will do our best to enforce these rules consistently and without regard to the point of view expressed by the speaker. Each speaker will have a time limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. However, we always accept public comment in any length in writing. Individual speakers may not donate unused time to other speakers. All comments must address topics within the jurisdiction of the County Commission. We also maintain the decorum of our meeting. Therefore, we prohibit public comments that are threatening, aggressively hostile, or belligerent, fighting words, slander, or speech that invades the privacy of individuals, unreasonably loud, disruptive, or repetitive, or that interrupt or substantially interfere with the board's ability to conduct county business. We reserve the right to mute or remove any speaker who violates these public comment rules. When you come up, please give your name and your full name and address for our meeting minutes and address your comments to the Commission. Please know that the comments received by the Commission during our meetings do not necessarily represent the views of Douglas County government, but that we value the input. We don't usually respond to general public comment on the spot, but if you leave your contact information with county staff, we'll try and get specific questions answered. After public comment, we'll move to our regular agenda. For each action item, we'll hear from staff or an applicant, followed by questions from the Commission, and then open the item up for public comment relative to that item. Once public comment is closed, we bring it back to the Commission for further discussion and a vote. And as always, a recording of this meeting will be available on the county's YouTube page and website. And with that, and we are also, should say, welcoming Commissioner Reed remotely. So she is with us online. So Commissioner Reed, thank you for joining us. With that, we have 3 items on our consent agenda. Commissioners, are there any items you would wish to pull from our consent agenda for further discussion?
No.
No.
Thank you. Is there anyone, any member of the public who would like to pull an item for our consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none here. Sarah, do we have anyone online? All right. With that, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve items 1, 2, and 3 on the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have a list started for general public comment? Or should we just? Okay. Is there anyone in the room who would like to give general public comment?
Week after week, we come in here and we're confused about these rules. Sarah, you put yourself in the kitty on that arrest, and you orchestrated that, and that's not going to be proper.
Please address to us,
I can
Michael.
address anybody I need to in this room.
We would prefer you address
and
us.
I'm happy to make this a Fifth Circuit case. You can prefer all you want, but I'm going to address whoever I need to. Ison v. Madison in the Sixth Circuit has been upheld in other circuit cases, and I'm looking to make it a fifth if you want to persist. So, before I was rudely interrupted, as I was saying, you put yourself in the kitty, Sarah, by orchestrating that whole thing.
Michael, please address the Commission.
In here to arrest him, and that was highly improper. And I think you guys have learned
Michael,
that.
public comment is to address us. You're welcome to come back to us with something you'd like to say.
Public comment is an open public comment period, and each time you interrupt me, it's another violation of my freedom of speech. Do you realize that? You don't understand that, do you?
Thank you for addressing us.
You don't understand what freedom of speech is, do you? You can't even stop to even, oh God. I've been told many times that you're the problem, Sarah.
Go ahead.
And you're going to be the,
Point of order, I think, yeah, we've given him a warning. We've told him to stop, and he continues to do it.
This is my 3 minutes of public time that I have been given to speak. Was it muted? Is my mic?
think you can go ahead and sit down. You're certainly welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we'll welcome the next public comment. Is there anyone else who'd like to give general public comment?
My name is Dr. Justin Spees. My sign here says, "These commissioners are Nazis," and it's got their favorite symbols on there for them. And I was going to explain a little bit why they're Nazis, but we just saw firsthand, what Nazis do. That's called free speech. Can't do what you just did. So anyways, May 1st, I was here at the meeting standing right there with my sign that said, "Women have more balls than Patrick too," this sign right here. And I got arrested and taken out of here and charges sent up to the DA. And I was to have my arraignment today at 3, but instead I got this letter here from the Douglas County District Attorney to Judge of the District Court, date May 20th, 2024, State versus Justin P. Spees. Arrest date May 1st, 2024. Referral charge, interference with conduct of public business in public buildings. Bonded to appear today, the 22nd. A complaint will not be filed by the District Attorney's Office against the above-named individual at this time. I declare under penalty of perjury that the above and foregoing is true and correct. Executed on May 20th, 2024, Suzanne Valdez, District Attorney, Douglas County. So that's interesting, right? So that makes that an unlawful arrest. Standing there with a sign can get you arrested in Nazi Germany and in Douglas County as well. So that night, standing there with the sign, I was told that I was blocking traffic, but in video, we could see that there was a scooter parked there. People were walking by. Somebody tripped over it. News organization, Fox News, was there, and their camera leg was sticking out in the aisle there. People just walking by it. I'm standing there. People are freely moving past me, in and out, no problem, in front and in back of me, including Sarah Plinsky's fat ass herself in her red dress. No problem whatsoever. As I'm getting arrested, somebody walking by. So it's a bullshit charge. So that's on the sheriff, Sheriff Jay Armbrister, wouldn't come back for round 2, because that's the second time I got arrested at one of your meetings. Disorderly conduct back in April of 2022, dismissed as well. That's part of the lawsuit. So he didn't want to come back for round 2, so he sent Lieutenant Channel and some new deputy, Coleman, down here to take the fall for it. So he colluded there with Sarah Plinsky. You all as well, and your attorney, who should be fired. So you guys took 40 minutes to come up with this charge right here that the DA ain't gonna touch. She's swearing under oath, "I'm not gonna do it." She don't wanna get sued either, guys. She don't wanna get sued either, but it's gonna happen to you guys. There's gonna be more to it. So these commissioners are Nazis, and that's just one example.
Is there anyone else who'd like to give general public comment? Seeing none, Sarah, do we have anyone online? Okay, that will close public comment and bring it back to the commission for our regular agenda. So our first item is a resolution to adopt the Adapt Douglas County, a Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, which is the subject of our earlier work session. And I think, Kim, are you coming up to speak on that, or is Sarah? Okay, come on up.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. It was a pleasure to speak with you earlier about this plan, and I stand for your questions as you consider this resolution.
And I would direct anyone who's interested certainly to watch the content of that earlier presentation and questions. Commissioner, do you have questions before we hear public comment, or do you want to go to that? Should look. Commissioner Reed also.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions.
I think we'll do public comment. Is there anyone who would like to come on up, give public comment on this item?
My name is John Ems, 812 Fox Chase Court. Okay, my name is John Ems, 812 Fox Chase Court, Lawrence.
John, you can pull that microphone to you if you need to. You don't
Okay.
have to bend over.
The climate plan challenge is to reduce significant global warming emissions by 2030 and net by 2050. And I would like to suggest, I listened to the presentation, I've certainly studied it. I would like to suggest that we reduce Douglas County government actions that contribute to global emissions. Specifically, as one example, the use of steel and concrete. And I'll explain why and how. For every ton of steel produced, 1 ton of CO2e is produced. Steel making requires furnaces and coal. Furnaces account for 8% of global emissions. For every ton of concrete produced, nearly 1 ton of CO2 is released. Content production is as much as 7% of global emissions. That's a total of 15% for these kinds of building elements. Douglas County uses lots of concrete and steel, and I'm going to give one example that's been in the press lately, and that has to do with wind turbines and solar farms. A single 2 megawatt wind turbine contains 260 tons of steel, requiring 170 tons of coal and 300 tons of iron ore, all mined, transported, and produced by hydrocarbons. Each turbine requires 80 gallons of oil per year. A single 5 megawatt wind turbine requires 500 tons of concrete. How many wind turbines does DC require? Do the math. The DC near-term plans to build approximately an 8 million square foot set of solar panels. Each megawatt of solar power requires about 40 tons of steel for infrastructure and platforming. That is 3,000 tons of steel and CO2, since it's a 1-to-1 ratio. How many solar farms does DC require moving into the future? China is the largest producer of steel and concrete. China emits 26% of global greenhouse gas. That's about 54 billion tons of CO2e. Douglas County emits only about 1 million tons. Douglas County should stop purchasing from countries that produce large amounts of global emissions. There's no way that reducing 1 million tons of CO2 by residential and traffic imposition will have any effect on the 54 billion tons from China. That's small potatoes and fairly inconsequential. The local governments were able to restrict plastic bags. Surely we are able to discourage purchases of Chinese imports. Look to our own county behavior before restricting citizens. Set Douglas County environmental policy appropriate to reducing global greenhouse gases. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to give public comment? Sarah, do we have anyone online? Okay. With that, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission. Commissioners?
So maybe I'll just reiterate something I said in case anybody wasn't at our work session earlier. I really appreciate Kim and the entire steering committee's work on this. I think it's important to remember that what we're passing here is a resolution that has 3 items, that we adopt the plan, that we convene key staff and community partners, and that we take leadership in carrying out the goals and strategies. That's what's in the resolution. I want to caution, this isn't any code changes today. Some of the suggestions passed by, suggested maybe by public comment there were about specific strategies that should happen. And I think this would be bringing together people to talk about those very strategies and see if that's something that we would want to look at. But I appreciate all the work that's done, and I'm supportive of the plan.
Commissioner Reed, did you have anything to add?
No, I didn't. I've read it extensively. We've had a few meetings previous to today, and appreciate Commissioner Kelly's articulation of a summary of what the resolution really dictates today. And I think it's the right next step. I am sorry that I was not able to make it to the work session earlier, but look forward to listening to a little bit more discussion later.
And I would kind of echo what Commissioner Kelly had said about This doesn't prescribe all the answers, but it gives us a framework to start talking and start getting those conversations together. And I think, as public comment pointed out, there really is so much nuance to consequences and unintended consequences of actions. And I think that this gives us a framework to really pull those conversations together and talk about them in the community. So I appreciate the work with all of our cities to have these conversations and the broad outreach that was involved. So thank you for the work. This is an important and big step for our community.
Commissioner Kelly, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2413.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
That moves us to our second item, second regular agenda item, and that is the findings of fact. And Sarah, will you be leading a conversation on that?
Yeah, I'll kick us off, Commissioners. Counsel on this, Terrell Mock, had a conflict and is on her way. She's about 10 minutes away. So we're moving a little faster than I thought we would be today. The findings of fact were prepared by counsel and have been a part of, we've had some updates. So there was a version purchased or published on Friday. It's been updated based off of some clarification that counsel wanted. And also a resolution that was updated. There was a clerical error on it, and so it was updated today. And we are prepared to answer any questions commissioners might have.
Do you see any need to take a recess and wait for council to arrive?
I don't. I
Okay.
think you could certainly take public comment if you want to, but she's, unless you have, specific questions of her that you want to ask.
Commissioners, do you have questions or comments before we move to public comment?
I don't.
Is there anyone, oh, sorry. Is there anyone who would like to give public comment on this item?
First of all, thank you for adopting Joe Harrington Lawrence. Thank you for adopting the Climate Action Plan. I was very impressed by it. And as you know, the plan says that our county goal should be a 60.4% reduction in emissions between 2021 and 2030 in absolute terms in order to meet the IPCC goal.
I'm sorry, Joe. That item actually is closed. This is the findings of fact on the solar application.
Right. Well, let me move this along then. So the plan says that planned reductions to the carbon intensity of the electric grid, including the decarbonization plans of Evergy, are taken into account in that goal, and that, quote, proactive policy and collaborative planning will be needed to move toward decarbonization of our local regional electricity supply. I just want to say I think that's absolutely right. We will never achieve even a modest goal if there is not the political will to do so. So you need to help Evergy to decarbonize the grid. And that really won't happen if we put up barriers to solar power and tie it up in red tape. And in fact, I would guess that if Evergy doesn't build a solar facility here, that nobody will. Nobody will even try. Evergy will not close their Lawrence coal-fired plant, and thus Douglas County will not achieve our aims to reduce emissions. So I would like to avoid that scenario, and I would like Douglas County to be part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to give public comment on this item? Do we have anyone online? Okay, that we are closing public comment, bringing it back to commissioners. Can we go ahead and bring them into the panel? Thank you.
John, you need to accept the invitation to become a panelist, and then we will move you into the panel to provide public comment. You're in the panel, so you can come off mute and provide public comment. Go ahead, John.
Okay. I just wanted to make a statement a little bit about there seems to be a lot of confusion about the regulations. I read the Journal World today, and a little bit of clerical errors, and I would hope that you all would take the time to help us to understand a little bit about how those things happen, why the codes weren't submitted in the time for the previous voting on this topic. And so I was surprised that there weren't more people there to make comment about that. And so my statement is a little unprepared, but I would ask kindly that you would consider helping explain that to us. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, is there anyone else online, Sarah? Okay, that we have closed public comment and brought it back to commissioners.
I don't have any comments. Happy to make a motion unless other commissioners have comments. Questions?
Nope, nothing to add.
I think we can just let folks know this is the formality of part of a decision that has already been made. This is just part of the public record and moves forward as part of the public record. So we had many, many hours of conversation leading up to this, and I do not have any comments either.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2414, granting conditional use permit CUP 23-00312 for a commercial utility scale solar energy conversion system with conditions recommended and approved at the April 13th, 2024 Special County Commission meeting, and adopt the finding as facts as prepared by legal counsel.
We have a motion
Second.
in a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. And that brings us to appointments and the end of our regular agenda. I believe we do have some appointments. Let me pull up our memo.
I can jump in, Commissioner Willie.
Go ahead.
So I met with Charlie Thomas. Charlie is a county appointee on the Lawrence Douglas County Metropolitan Planning Commission. His term expires at the end of May. He would like to be reappointed. I appreciate Charlie's service. We talked about some perspectives of the work, and it's been some challenging work on the Planning Commission. They've had some very long meetings on some very decisive topics. And I appreciate Charlie's perspective and am pleased to recommend him for reappointment.
I would second. All in
Moved and
favor?
seconded. Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you for that and for having a conversation. It definitely has been a challenging time on Planning Commission these last 3 years, and I did overlap with Charlie a little bit at the end. We did at one point have an ag producer for Food Policy Council. I think that person withdrew, so we are looking for another, right? And we're still waiting on some recommendations for Property Crimes Compensation Board. All right. Do we have any other appointments? Okay. With that, we'll move on to Sarah's memo.
Thanks, Commissioners. Just a reminder that we have canvass, an election canvass tomorrow at 9 a.m. for USD 348 bond. And I believe I'm going to have Commissioner Willie, Treasurer Adam Rains, and Register of Deeds Kent Brown for that. And then just wanted to remind commissioners that we've got the pre-special session update for Little Government Relations attached. We do not meet next week. We have 5 Wednesdays in May, so we are not meeting next week. We will meet on June 5th, but we will not have a work session. And that's all I have, commissioners.
In terms of another item possibly to put on our notice here, I don't know if Commissioner Reed's planning to be at the KDOT presentation tomorrow night in Baldwin about Highway 56. Is that,
Well, out of
Okay.
town, I think.
oh, that's right, you're still out of town.
Unfortunately not, yeah, my travel schedule doesn't allow for it, but I appreciate that you will be able to make it.
I hope to be, yes, thank you. And I
Thank
think
you.
that's the only other thing I would have on my schedule. Anything for you?
No.
Okay, any other items from commissioners?
None from me.
With that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.